Hey everybody, this is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous good-looking friends. A real quick video. I was thinking about this and I didn't cover it regarding this attack Prince Harry had on Piers Morgan during this hearing. This definitely was personal because he made it a point a few times in the witness statement to say something about Piers Morgan. The thing that sort of jogged my memory on a documentary that I saw on the BBC was this statement that was made. And he said, again, the thought of Piers Morgan and his band of journalists earwigging into my mother's private and sensitive messages, and then having given her a nightmare time 3 months prior to her death in Paris, makes me feel physically sick and even more determined to hold those responsible, including Mr. Morgan, accountable for their vile and entirely unjustified behavior. When I recently read this, I remembered that earlier in May, the BBC, Amol Rajan, did an interview with Piers Morgan. And Piers Morgan specifically talks about Diana and his relationship with her. So I would like to play you that clip because I think it's very much related to calling Prince Harry out for the BS. And what's insightful is you learn a little bit more of who the real Diana is. And I'll be honest, the more Harry does this, the more I'm feeling turned off of Diana. And I think all of this is having a negative effect on Diana's legacy, especially since Harry is forcing the public to associate his dead mother with his psychotic wife. And quite frankly, now, every time I hear about Diana and the paparazzi, I think about Meghan and how thirsty Meghan is to alert the paparazzi and pretend that she's such a victim. Harry is completely destroying his mother's legacy and her memory. And for those that didn't know who Diana was, can you imagine being the face now for what she used to represent? I think it's so sad. And I don't think Diana would be too pleased to see what her son and approve of what he has been doing. I certainly don't think she would approve of that thing that he married. Seriously, anything that comes in contact or in Meghan's orbit, prepare for it to be destroyed because that seems to be the only thing she knows how to do and do it really well. But anyhow, here is the clip of Piers Morgan talking about his relationship with Diana, Princess of Wales.
Let's have it the ultimate insider. You know, you're in number 10, you're number 11, you're at parties and indeed palaces. And you've written about the occasions where you had lunch with Princess Diana, who you found bewitchingly beautiful, I think it's fair to say. The thing I don't understand is, what did she want out of lunch with you?
Come on, it must be obvious. I think that, like everyone in public life, doesn't matter whether you're a royal, you're a politician, you're a tennis player, you're a singer, whatever it is, you want to have the best media press coverage you can get. And Diana was a good example of somebody who did influence me, actually very effectively, and she did it very specifically. And she said, you know, there's a lot of pictures now coming from paparazzi that are not part of national newspapers, but they're taking pictures to you of me looking distressed or crying or whatever it may be. And it's being caused by them. And she showed me some video footage that she had of paparazzi behaving really badly. But there was a kind of unlicensed group of paparazzi running around, making her life hell, no question. And I said, here's what we're going to do. I said, we're just not going to run those kind of pictures again. And I said, here's also what I'll do. I'll ring you when we have a particularly sensitive story, and I'll tell you, and we'll talk about it.
Later, Morgan got wind of a story about the princess attending a clinic for people with eating disorders and sharing her own experience of bulimia. Morgan called her, and they agreed to work on the story together, with him sending her an early draft to amend.
I did all the right things, and she was incredibly grateful. I go to bed, I have a glass of wine, I'm celebrating, the scoop bomb goes off, everyone's chasing it, it's first 7 pages of the Mirror, Diana and bulimia, the truth in her own words, blah, 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 blah. And I know it's 100% accurate because she's the one who told me. She's my source. And then at about 9 o'clock in the morning comes a Press Association snap. Diana, Princess of Wales, is deeply upset over intrusive revelations in today's Daily Mirror about a private visit to a eating disorder clinic. I thought, sorry, what? So I rang the palace, and I could hear her in the background. The princess just felt on reflection after sleeping on it that because it was a private visit, if she didn't say that she didn't endorse this, then she couldn't make other private visits. I said, oh, did she? Why didn't she say that yesterday before I put it all over my front page with her permission and her approval and after an hour-long interview? I said, you can tell her what I'm going to do. Tomorrow morning's front page is going to have front page me revealing my source. And I'm going to do a phone line where you can listen to the interview. And people are going to be slightly surprised because they're going to hear Diana, Princess of Wales, talking to me about what we put in the paper today.
Did you do it?
No.
Why?
Because I heard some muttering, and then I heard the princess is sure that you won't do that, Piers, and that you'll, on reflection, you'll think about what she said and the precise wording of her statement, and you'll understand the reason she did it.
You got lobbied.
No.
She successfully, hang on, you talk about silencing, she silenced you. When I was listening to you tell that story just there, I thought, what a fantastically smart, brave, campaigning thing that would be for a journalist to do. But instead, this princess, whose beauty you were bewitched by, mutters in the background to her press secretary, and you get nobbled.
Here's what happened.
You coward.
I took a view in the moment.
Oh, did you?
Well, hey, tell me if I'm wrong. I had access to the biggest star on the planet. She'd stiffed me on this, no question, but she didn't deny anything that we did. She just said she was upset by the intrusion into the private visit. So we took a whack as a paper for intrusion, but we still got the scoop, and we still sold buckets of papers.
And you kept the relationship?
And I kept the relationship, which carried on until she died. I don't criticise what Diana was doing. She was the biggest star in the world with the biggest amount of media intrusion into her life, no question. I never deny that, I don't doubt it. But she would court people like me. She would talk regularly to people like me. She would blatantly stiff me, as she did over the eating disorder story. She would deliberately manipulate the papers so that she could get one over Camilla. And I wonder when I hear Harry, for example, talking in the way he does about media intrusion into his mother's life and his life, whether he knew the half of it. I doubt he did. He was only, how old was he, 12 when she died? I doubt he knew that she was doing all.
I had to read this statement again because at first when I read it and listened to everything that was being said, I scratched my head to say, well, did he really look through all these articles? And he says here, to prepare this witness statement, I have been through each of the articles highlighted with my solicitors on a series of video calls in January and February 2023. To a very small extent, this exercise has refreshed my memory, but I do remember a lot of what was going on throughout the relevant period, including the incidents or stories referred to in the articles below, even if I don't recall seeing the specific articles at the time. I set out my recollection and knowledge of these events and the impact of the articles in the paragraphs below. The list of documents refers to both the text only and as published versions of the articles to the extent that these have been disclosed by the defendant. Now, when you look at this statement on the surface, you're saying, well, how could he say that he went through each of the articles when he kept saying that he didn't know or he didn't remember or recollect? He absolutely did go through each and every one of them. And there are certain events he's trying to erase and make the press pay for the pain that his actions caused him. For starters, the bulk of the articles are within the window that Piers Morgan was the editor. So obviously, this is phase one of a campaign to cancel Piers Morgan. This is a vendetta that Harry is carrying out on behalf of his bitch wife. Each of the articles that he picked out is definitely serving a purpose. Let's take this example, dated January 15, 2005. This article was written by Jane Kerr, and the title was Chelsea is Not Happy. And in this article, it was reporting that he was about to be dumped by Chelsea. If you look at the highlighted area, it says, there was a lot of press coverage of me at the time, as I had attended a fancy dress party and photographs had been sold to the press by an attendee of the party. However, This article by the defendant has a different focus. It reported that Chelsea was furious and had given me a tongue lashing down the phone, following allegations that I had been flirting with a brunette at the party. Then it goes on to say below, I don't remember if Chelsea and I did argue about the party. Given we were based in different countries, a lot of our relationship was conducted over the phone, so I know I would have spoken to her a lot over this time because it was a challenging period for me, but I don't recall her reaction. This is 100% a lie. He damn well remembered it because this was one of the biggest scandals at the time for the royal family. Dated January 13, 2005 when this happened. Of course, Chelsea was mad. She had every right to be mad. This was super embarrassing for her. So, yeah, don't act and play like this was some regular party and you don't remember it. Do you guys see how manipulative and deceitful this guy is? If you go through each of these examples that he gave, or the 33 that they picked out, you're guaranteed to find a moment in his life that he was pissed off that he got called out. And now this was his revenge. And just like with Associated Newspapers and the Daily Mail, we're going to see Harry now attack probably Dan Wooten. Wait for it. Seriously, it's almost insane to think that they are trying to get back at every single person that has ever said anything or criticized them for their bad behavior. I mean, this is quite mental, and I think Harry needs to step away for a second and get some proper help. Right now, he is unraveling and his crazy is full out on display. And this message is for Meghan, because I know you have your goons listening. You don't look any better for not being there by his side. So don't think that because you stayed away that your brand is intact because your husband is showing how insane the both of you are for doing this. You look equally as ridiculous because you choose when you want to be front and center, but when Harry needs the support, you hide like a little bitch. Anyway, that's all I have for today, but don't you worry, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
I was such a fraud.